Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Hey folks, we got a great program. You can get seated and start moving. I would appreciate it. I feel like I'm in front of a bunch of second graders. I need people to be quiet. Right? Go to the clap. All right. Thank you all for coming. My name is Paul Jones. I'm the president of the Alliance this year. We have a wonderful program, the supervisor's board, this morning talking about water. I would like to thank Don and Alejandro from Sound Ideas for the wonderful work they do. A shout out to Cube Brewery because they always donate, and we appreciate that. I want to thank the sustaining members, guests, and everyone that showed up this morning. We are a membership organization, and without you, we are not an organization. We appreciate your participation, your membership, and if you're looking to participate more, we have a number of boards that you can participate on. Participate is my favorite word this morning. So, with that, I would encourage that all members do join a committee, become more active with the Alliance. We are an important organization within this community, and we're hitting our 50th anniversary next year, if you can imagine that. So with that, I would like to get Scott Kincaid up here from Skate Pack and talk about what is happening within Sonoma County. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Paul. Scott Kincaid, Sonoma County Alliance Political Action Committee, otherwise known as SCA Pack. What are we? We are a body of trustees that is completely independent and separate of the Sonoma County Alliance Board of Directors. What do? We invite all local, county, and city candidates to interview with us for a potential endorsement. We also look at select ballot measures, again, local, county level, and below. And we make decisions on who to endorse in these races, mainly based on our nonpartisan approach of, how's your policy? Are you an open door listener? Can we approach you? Can we have a conversation and figure out what's best for the community? And kind of that's a simplified version of what we debate on mainly. But we host interviews. Everybody's invited. Those that do interview are considered for endorsement. So I'd like to give you our endorsements for 2024, if I might. Going by cities, Cloverdale City Council, Mark Lasky. Cotati City Council, Susan Harvey. Healdsbury City Council, Ariel Kelly, David Hagley, and Ron Edwards. Petaluma City Council, Petaluma is a district city, so District 6, Mike Healy. District 5, Alex DeCarly. Roanoke Park City Council, uncontested race, but again, to the point of somebody coming and wanting to hear from the business community, Gerard Junachet stepped up and allowed us to interview him as if he was running against somebody contested. And so we are endorsing an uncontested race in Roanoke Park. Gerard, thank you very much. Santa Rosa City Council, again, district elections. District 5, Jeremy Newton. And District 3, Diana McDonald. Sebastopol City Council, Nasa Hinton. Windsor Town Council, again, District 2, John Leba. And for the Sonoma County measures, we are yes on Measure I. Our kids, our future, for the kids. We are no, a steadfast no on Measure J. And in Healdsburg acknowledging that the city council is taking a step towards rezoning some of their local parcels to create more housing for the middle income is their goal, but really just to create more housing opportunities in the city of Healdsburg, yes, on Measure O. And with that, I will invite you to visit the Sonoma County Alliance website. That's where we host all of these endorsements if you forget what I mentioned this morning. So thank you.
Alrighty. Good morning. I'm Ty Mooney. I'm the Executive Director here at Sonoma County Alliance. I have a very short report today, so to kick us off, I want to echo what Paul said and invite you to apply for a board seat or for a committee chair or a committee position. We have board applications that are going to be opening in November. So if you're interested, please email me and I can give you some details on that. Also, if you want to join a committee, let me know about that. Chair a committee, start a committee. We would love to hear what your interests are. So shoot me an email and we'll get that all lined up. I'm going to go right to self-introduction. So as I come to your table, just stand up, give us your business name, your name, and we will pass the mic along. So we'll start here. You can kick us off. Stand up.
My name is Maya Jones, and I do not have a business, but I am with Sonoma State University.
Chris Piscalini with Comerica Bank.
Paul Yeomans.
Good morning, Dick Dowd, retired, currently a co-chair of the Alliance Water Supply Committee, and I'm on the board of directors as well.
Good morning, Brad Sherwood, Assistant General Manager at Sonoma Water. I'll be trying to keep up with Supervisor Gore today during our water talk. And the immediate past president of the most amazing Mark West Area Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning, I'm Cynthia De La Fuente with Sonoma Water Communications.
Good morning, Pamela Van Helsema, also from Sonoma Water Communications Outreach with our groundwater sustainability agencies. And I happen to also be the chair of the Santa Rosa Library Advisory Board and there's Measure W. Yes, on Measure W to continue library funding.
Good morning, Russ Powell with Russ Powell Consulting, Leadership Development.
Harry Davidian, Digital Sensing and Control.
Keith Roberts in Supervisor Gore's office.
Good morning, I'm Molly O'Brien. I'm a Senior Community Resilience Planner at WRA. We're an environmental consulting firm that's been serving the county for 40 years.
James Gore, it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Tony Spisman, 707 Promotions.
Art Dyke with EPS.
Melissa Galliani with Wine Country Radio. Sherry Grounds-Otto, Wine Country Radio, and I have a guest, Russell Wall. He's with Sonoma County Carpentry. He's the owner. He's already been networking. First thing he got here this morning.
Good morning, I'm Camille Hedges with Summerfield Waldorf School and Farm.
Great morning, Mark Soil and Soil and Company.
Art Dexter with Duke and Dexter and Super Service Supply.
Jeff Harrison, Sonoma County Resource Recovery, the garbage company in Windsor.
Brian Ling, Real Estate Broker Appraiser, and I have a guest today, Pierre Ratte from the Sonoma County Ag and Open Space District.
Dan Condon, member of SCA PAC.
Good morning, Madeline Keegan O'Connell, YWCA.
Such a radio voice. Good morning, Howard Dalton. I do lots of things.
New member Jim Wallen, PEP Housing.
Good morning, Jim Schramm with Adobe Associates.
Good morning, Steve Bertelbaugh with Friends of Smart.
Roy Martinez, Exit Strategies Group, Mergers and Acquisitions and Valuations, and I'm also the chair of the admin committee for PEP Housing.
Good morning, Deirdre Holbrook with the Community Foundation, Sonoma County.
Ron Edwards, City of Healdsburg.
Good morning, Ryan Bucksbaum, next one staff.
Joe Gaffney, St. Vincent de Paul.
John Weeks, Generation Housing.
Carrie Chambers, New York Life.
Good morning, Andre Moran with Broadview Race Consulting Engineers. Good morning, Ryan Long, Cotati Planning Commission and Data Instincts.
Good morning, Mark Milan, Data Instincts, Public Outreach Consultant for water projects throughout the state.
Good morning, Heather Thurber, Real Estate Broker, Redwood Empire Realty.
Rob Sandville, KLH Consulting.
Ann Morkill, Laguna de Santa Rosa Foundation.
Clayton Krager, Laguna de Santa Rosa Foundation.
Chuck Root, used to be Double Eagle Financial, but I got a big check on Friday, so I guess you'd say I'm homeless.
Good morning, Carly Rodriguez, Midstate Construction.
Terry Barman, Midstate Construction.
Rex Barney, Holly Construction. Justin Hunter, lots of construction, but Holly Construction.
Larkin O'Leary, not construction, Common Ground Society.
Bella Martinez, Common Ground Society.
Rick Carlisle, BKF Engineers.
Marlene Soyland, Soyland Management Company. Where'd you go, Ty? Good morning, Lisa Wicki Schaffner, North Coast Builder Exchange, and as of July 1, the new contractor's licensing school in Sonoma County.
Good morning, Eric Schmees, Golden State Lumber.
Good morning, Miguel Andrade Marin, Golden State Lumber.
Pete Lester, Director, Marquest Chamber of Commerce, the friendliest chamber in the county.
Good morning, Kevin Jones, Fast Signs of Santa Rosa.
Good morning, Sam Salmon, Council Member, Town of Windsor.
Good morning, Lori Rooney, North Bay Biz Magazine. Rosie Padilla, North Bay Biz Magazine.
Good morning, Kurt Nichols, retired past president.
Jim Bone, retired builder.
Linda Bone, Summit State Bank.
Teresa Scott with Western Health Advantage, and I have a guest with me, Marty Murray from J&M Murray Insurance Services.
Ryan Kelly, your Vice President of the Sonoma County Alliance, as well as the Managing Partner for WSI, your AI and Marketing Sherpas. I'd like to introduce a guest, V. Hansen, who is currently open for work but known for her marketing and business development.
Chris Wilson, past president, board member, and SCA member.
Good morning, David Brown, Adobe Associates, Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors. Good morning, Ernest Burkhoff, Broker and CEO of Burkhoff Realty.
Good morning, Tawny Tosconi, board member and owner of Tosconi Event and Management Solutions.
Good morning, Janet Connors, Summit State Bank, immediate past president and member of SCA.
Jeff Price, Keysight Technologies. Kelly Mack, Exchange Bank.
Kale, Carla Macy.
Tracy Russo, Hogan Land Services.
Mark Stapp, Sonoma State University and Santa Rosa City Council.
Good morning, Jennifer Burke, as Santa Rosa Water Director.
Kevin Zuko, ZFA Structural Engineer.
Good morning, Gerard Giudice, Vice Mayor, Roanoke Park, and Director, Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District.
Good morning, Ken LaFranchi, Architect.
Good morning, Michael Thompson, Mike Thompson Engineering and a consultant for Calpine.
Good morning, Samantha Paul, event producer, Samantha Paul Planning and Consulting, and trying to fill the shoes of Brad as the new president for Northwest Chamber.
Kim O'Day with Fidelity Title.
Gary Lenz with Loan Depot Home Loans.
Morning, Aaron Smith with Adobe Associates.
Joe Stewart, Sonoma County Professional Firefighters. Steve Click, Power Associates.
John Selfridge, Professional Firefighters, Sonoma County.
Brian Barrett, New York Life and Eagle Strategies.
Good morning, Jack Byrne with Navigate Inc. And I've got a guest this morning. He's come back several times, so hopefully he's this close to joining officially. Dan Wasachi with the Round Barn Group at Morgan Stanley. Welcome.
Andrew Willis, EC Engineering Group.
Scott Kincaid, Facility Development Company.
Good morning, Sean Loring, attorney and law professor.
Oh, wow, that is aggressive. All right. Oh, wow. All right. Wow. Good morning. If you are a guest today, please consider joining us as a member. We are a membership organization. Wow, this is crazy loud. And with that, I want to invite Dick Dowd to talk a little bit about our historical contributions to water supply. Yeah, the whole district.
I hope this doesn't blow you out of the room. I'll try to keep it away from my mouth a little bit. Good morning. I'm glad that you're all here with us. Before I introduce the speakers for today, I want to talk about this, the Sonoma County Alliance. Many of you know this, but some of I'm sure you do not, and that was that Sonoma County Alliance was formed almost 50 years ago. It will be our 50th anniversary in February of next year, and it was formed for the purpose of being an advocate of the building of Warm Springs Dam to augment the region's water supply. And all I've ever said about that is thank God we did it, and Sonoma Water got that to happen. That water supply from Lake Sonoma is incredible. So we have Lake Sonoma now, and we have Lake Mendocino that supply our water into the Russian River. I indicated as I was speaking before, as we went around, I'm also the co-chair now. I was the chair, and now Marlene Soyland has joined me as the co-chair of the Sonoma County Water Agencies, of the Sonoma County Alliance Water Supply Committee. And we have been working almost 3 years now trying to assist Sonoma Water, the county water group, to see if we can't supplement the water supply system we have. Much of that system is getting ancient and it needs to be repaired, and PG&E as an example has shut down or is shutting down their electrical energy process, and what Sonoma Water is now doing is working in a joint power agreement to try to find ways to assist the water needs of 5 different counties. It's Lake, Humboldt, Mendocino, Sonoma, and Marin. All kind of have their hands in the pie to try to see what they can do. And Sonoma Water has been incredible about all the work that they have done. And our water supply committee has been with them and appreciate all the work that they have done for our region on the water supply. There's a lot of things that have to be done to get it to work well, and they are the lead element that we have available to us. So thank you very much. Today, the 2 speakers that we have, first of all, Supervisor James Gore, would you come up and you can sit up here, please? And the other speaker is Brett Sherwood, who is the Assistant General Manager of Sonoma Water. And These two gentlemen have really been leaders in getting the water supply moving on, and today's meeting, the purpose of it is to let all of us know where are they in terms of getting approvals, getting funding, what the system will look like, and it's a very, very difficult task, and they're doing a very good job at that. So that's all I have to say, but welcome, and James Gore, you've got a microphone, so go ahead if you would like.
Dick. Thank you, Dick. Round of applause for Dick Dowd. Come on. Come on. Who needs coffee this morning? Not me. I'm going to sit back down with Brad here in a minute, but just want to set the scene a little bit. And first of all, acknowledge where we're at and who we're with. Is that I look around this room and I see a lot of people who do a lot of stuff in this community, right? A lot of people who lean in. We live in a time where kind of that old quote from Teddy Roosevelt that I love that is more resonant and present than ever, which is, it's not the critic that counts. You know, not the man or woman who's sitting in the stands, sitting around, throwing tirades and just talking about the person who's actually in the arena. I'm prefacing a little bit, as a politician could do. You know, it's really about that person that's in there covered in blood and sweat and tears, who knows triumph and knows tragedy, and not those poor souls that all they do is write or talk about the people who are actually doing the work. So I want to start by just acknowledging that in a time where people are more disconnected than ever, it's more important than ever that those who are connected stay connected and keep going deeper. That's a high-level statement, but in a simple way, I also say that since everybody does email these days, my handwritten thank you cards mean more than ever, right? And a basic element. So I want to thank Ron and Sam and Gerard who are running. I want to thank all of you on the business side who get up early and come here not just to network, but to learn and to lean in. I told somebody this morning, actually, Harry Davidian right here, I said, Harry, gosh, I thought you were 8 feet tall. He's like, what the heck's that? Is that a slight? And I'm like, no, when you're on Zoom, you are a strong voice. You step up, you bring tough questions, but you also do your research. I tell people these days the only thing that pisses me off is strongly held, lightly informed opinions. Right? Love strong opinions. Love somebody who wants to bring it. The only tough thing is when they want to bring it, but they don't want to back it up. Unintended. Right? Water's cold. Choppy, messy.
And so it begins.
It's a crazy time. Yeah, so it begins. A couple other things to acknowledge is that, God, in a way I don't want to acknowledge it. I'll tell a story a quick one to acknowledge it, is that where Brad lives over in Mark West and where Pamela in Coffey Park, my cousin Steve and his wife Michelle recently worked with a lot of the community to put on a concert. And there was 1,000 people, maybe 800, maybe 1,200, but just had a wonderful time at Coffey Park. And afterwards I asked him how it went. And he said, you know what was great? Is it was the first time for at least me that it felt like it wasn't a post-fire event. It was a community event. I met so many people, he said, who weren't here, who moved in, other people who were here, and we went through it all, but we didn't talk about it. We were there celebrating. And so I acknowledge that as we blink into next week, which is a very difficult time for many people, and for others it's a story of triumph out of the ashes, and for others it's heartbreak, right? So I think you can't talk about all this work without saying that fire, emergency management, societal issues, homeless housing, public assistance, the safety net, economic development, permits, potholes, all of this work that we all participate in is really based upon a foundation of water. None of it exists without water. So a couple things I want to go into today is, number one is a reminder that structurally is that Brad and I work together, but Sonoma Water is a very unique entity in this state. There's many water districts, but not all of them manage concurrently water supply and flood control, right? But at the same time, it's very rare to have a board of supervisors be the board of a water district. Usually those are direct elect representatives. So I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Mike Thompson in the back. Congressman, it's good to see you. Where are you at? Oldest joke in the book. Mike Thompson, former assistant general manager for Sonoma Water, ran the utility side, but innovator, wonderful partner. It's great to see you. Great to see you. Mike's now, he just said he's working with Calpine a little bit. I hope you don't mind me saying that. I think you said it. But I don't know if some of you have read, but we worked our tails off to get a law passed this week. That's just one of these little bureaucratic laws that could have jettisoned a $6 to $10 billion investment to take another 600 megawatts of energy producing up in our geysers. That's a huge, huge deal. Right? Huge deal. Huge deal. So, to not get over into all those things and lose myself, I just want to remind us that, that what we talk about and what we work on today is integrated. We're talking about water supply predominantly, but water supply, water quality, fish populations, and other species of concern, flood control, recreation, permitting, and not affluence, but effluence. You want to be affluent, not so effluent, right? If you follow me. I am always shocked at how much time I spend legislating poop since I joined the Board of Supervisors. When I interviewed with you all 11 years ago, oh, did I not know how much septic policy I would be embedded in. But I want to go and kind of provide a little historical picture as we, in education, as we dive into a water update on where we're at efficiency-wise, where our plans are at, where our supplies, where our housing growth is, and how all these things integrate together. So reminder, okay? So California becomes a state. What year? 1850. Where is the Bear Flag Revolt? Sonoma, right? The town of Sonoma. Okay, 9 or 49ers. Everyone moves up here. Land grants, right? Big plots of land. At this point, what we say is 5 federally recognized tribes in Sonoma County, 1 tribe that's not federally recognized, but definitely Mishawapa has a strong, powerful connection to this area. So, civilization develops, right? So what happens? Oh, let's say everybody realizes that these beautiful flush areas like the Laguna of Santa Rosa always fill up, wildlife comes in, it's the natural kidneys of the whole system. All this water comes down from up north. As it's on its way out to the ocean, it slows down and sinks and settles in the laguna. That's where you get this processing time, just like anywhere in a wetland system. They say the same thing about the foot or the toes of the Mississippi River. You know, if you channelize those and make them straight out, you get all kinds of problems. If you slow it, sink it, spread it, which is what conservationists try to promote now with water, that's what naturally happened. They're mimicking natural systems of what nutrients get to settle out in those areas and create, you know, flush, beautiful areas, right? So, also what happens is around 1903 up north, maybe 1902, 1903, 1904, there's something that is called the Potter Valley Project that goes in. So, for the first time, this system is absolutely unnatural. Okay, let's just acknowledge that everybody thinks about this bucolic past of Sonoma County and this natural system that they talk about in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, all these other things, but it was not a natural system. By that time, they take a tunnel through the mountain in between the Eel River and the Russian River to create power, to fuel the development and sustainability of Ukiah. That water comes through, it runs a turbine. All of a sudden, there's what we would call free water, everybody, in the Russian River. So we call it the East Fork, but it is actually a canal that comes out of that power facility and creates a false headwaters of the Russian River. People don't like it sometimes when I say false, unnatural, but let's just be real. We have been playing God since that time with this water system, with our hands on different spigots, right? Moving it up and down, trying to figure out what's going on, okay? About that time also, there's a former supervisor from down in West County, whose name is Wadati. I had a buddy who I went to college with, his name was Jeremy Doty. But this is Wadati, they tell me. This is just kind of, some of this is anecdotal history. And his real focus in those 10s, 20s, 30s is the flooding in the lower part of the Russian River. So the communities have been built, all this happens, we're getting flooded out down there. So there's this big effort to go back to DC to lobby for a dam, a flood control structure. Not a water supply structure, a flood control structure. They get approval after a lot of lobbying and work to do 2 dams, right? In ideation. One of them, Lake Mendocino, what year? 40?
Well, we were, 1949 is
Wasn't
when
quick
Sonoma
enough.
Water was created, and that's when we were authorized as a
Now-
local sponsor.
Okay. Local sponsor. You need a local sponsor. So the water agency was created, right? Come on, Brad. Come with me. Did you win the election free and outright, or did you not? It's a simple question.
I'm still recovering from the VP debate last night.
That's what I'm saying. So, let's just keep going, right? So, in the world, there's 2 flood control structures that are decided to go in. The first one that is moved on by the federal government with a project is Lake Mendocino. Okay, Lake Mendocino, that creates a whole world of dramatic change here in Sonoma County. Let's just say that one of those got shelved until groups like the Alliance and others locally and others developed a new plan for Lake Sonoma that included water supply and flood control and all these management areas, okay? But over here in Lake Mendocino, what happens is that this lake is built, it's not to the same specs or complexity or efficiency as Lake Sonoma. It's 40 years younger. It only has at the bottom of it right now basically a spigot that shoots water out into the Russian River, whereas there's a control structure on Lake Sonoma that allows you to release above sedimentation lines and to release and control all these things, okay? So 2 very different systems, but Lake Mendocino is built. That water that comes out of Potter Valley project, the diversion in between Lake Mendocino and that, there's Lake Pillsbury that's created. That's created so that the artist formerly known beforehand as PG&E and others has an ability to store water from the upper eel, divert it down. There's 2 diversions, Lake Mendocino now starts to fill up, predominantly not from natural rains, but from the diversion that comes out of the Eel River. At that time, it's as much as 150, 160,000 acre feet per year, right? Conversely, now, at maximum, we take about 50 to 60,000. And it's usually much less than that, and the projections of Potter Valley we've talked about are still in a big negotiation, and there's a lot of discussion about where this goes, okay? Also, in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, if you read the books right now, it talks about how amazing our fishery was. And yes, it was, but let's remind ourselves that most of those stories we read are not from before 1903. So a lot of those stories are based on an unnatural system, which a lot of people don't like to talk about. Oh, my dad, my grandpa, we could walk across the salmon. Yeah, well, the Department of Fish and Game, not Fish and Wildlife as it's now called, but Fish and Game was dropping tens of millions of fish into the system in the 20s and 30s all the time. Also, there were false levels of water flow in the Russian River coming down because of that eel diversion through all of those decades. So what some people think is history that you go back to is actually just another notch in a historical belt or a historical chain. So everything that everyone tells you, and I say this because this is what I've learned. I was born in Hillsborough Hospital, and I just like to go down to Memorial Beach, and the fact that there was a dam down there, which also was created out of a war bond. It was the only one of the veterans groups that decided not to build a veterans building in Sonoma County, but to invest in a public space because they also already had the Veterans Hall. These historical, perspectives on what happens, a lot of us forget what they are. I just figured this out by working with you all for 10 years, right? So here we are in a situation where Lake Sonoma comes online, Lake Mendocino's filling predominantly because of this Potter Valley project. Civilization is created around it. We have our farming communities. We have predominantly our cities alongside the rivers. Most of these cities are either dependent in those days upon either groundwater or they're dependent upon diversion straight off of the river. So if you're in Cloverdale, Geyserville, Sebastopol, Healdsburg, you're running off of flows coming off of the river. If you're in other areas, you're digging groundwater wells. In some conditions, move forward in the 70s and 80s and others, some of those areas that were being developed, Gerard knows, there's this one story about Rohnert Park, how as Rohnert Park was developing, there was actually subsidence in the system because of pumping. Then what did we do? We created a water system. Now all of a sudden, most of those cities, which are contractors of Sonoma Water, we are a wholesaler, you're a retailer. We take the supplies out of Lake Sonoma, we take the resilience into project water instead of pulling up water from the groundwater as much as possible. The groundwater wells in the cities are still out there, they're still there, able to be utilized in necessary times. Even with us, we still have backup wells and some that we utilize in drought conditions. But if we're smart, we're going to take that water out and we're going to find ways to bank water when we have water. So high level, and Brad's going to go through and take over for a minute. We have enough water. We have enough water. We have enough water, just not always at the right time. Okay? And that's where planning and storage and management, whether it's above ground storage or below ground storage, do the work. Secondly, is that the winter versus the summer. Part of what Brad and I work on in our plans are to make the best use of winter water to store it as best as possible, because in the summertime, as much as 50% of the water in Sonoma County coming out of our system is used for outdoor irrigation, right? I'm not talking about commercial irrigation. I'm talking about domestic irrigation. And people, so I'm just going to tag along and say some of these things are necessary for life and some of them are convenience, even if we think that convenience and beauty in our yards is as important as ability for health and safety. Okay? Third thing is that the difference between what we're dealing with now versus in the past, the flood, the Pineapple Express storms, these atmospheric rivers, it's not just new terminology. If you live in this area and if you also look in the data, you know that we have more of a boom, bust cycle, weather whiplash they call it. And so managing flood waters and getting water like that in that sense is more important than ever. And in some cases, that's just by diverting, but other times it's getting it into farmland so it sinks. But how does a farmer say, okay, fine, if I'm going to do that and use my land, what kind of credit do I get to pull that water out later, right? Other times, it's something called aquifer storage and recharge, where we actually will pump project water in the wintertime into a well that used to maybe be used to pull water out, and it'll sink back down, right? Other thing is that conservation, no matter what, is key. Culturally, this whole idea that everybody can have a lawn forever in Sonoma County in an area that is becoming more and more arid is not the reality. And so we're always going to see those are the things that are going to drop off first. Those are the things that people are going to have a lot of volatility, and ultimately, if I'm looking forward 30 or 40 years, I would like to see a Sonoma County that's more built for the weather systems that we have versus just thinking that we can divert water and throw on the sprinklers all the time. And then I think one thing I want to start with and leave you with is that desalinization is not the answer and recycled water is the answer. And Mark Milan, you were just telling me about a project down in Santa Cruz that you're doing. It said it's a mini version of the Orange County project I was asking you, where they actually take recycled water, they run it through reverse osmosis, which makes it just basically so clean that almost it doesn't have any minerality or other things. They put that back down into the ground. They put it specifically in areas where there's saltwater intrusion. You're pulling up all this fresh groundwater. The salt water's coming in to take up that void. And so you inject that stuff down. There is definitely intermingling, but it protects your groundwater reserves. That kind of stuff is the way of the future, right? Mike Thompson, in the past, we used to talk about desalinization probably costing $5,000 to $6,000 an acre foot minimum, whereas with true recycled water, you know, this idea that people don't like words like toilet to tap, but the reality is that it all happens underground, it all commingles, it all goes in different areas, and so waking up to that reality is the important thing. Thank you, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today. Have a good morning.
Sit down.
Okay, Brad.
You are not done.
Okay, Brad. What's up?
Oh my
So
goodness.
Brad Sherwood, everybody.
Okay.
Brad Sherwood.
All right, now let me decipher what he just said.
Oh.
I love it. No, it's an honor to be here. Thank you to the Alliance for inviting us. We got a lot going on this month. This month is a big month for Sonoma Water and for our community because this actually is our 75th year of being in existence, October 1949. So move over Foster's Freeze, which also is celebrating its 75th anniversary. And I think everyone at Sonoma Water should get a free burger and shake, I think. But this is also the beginning of our new water year. Believe it or not, us in the water industry celebrate this like we all celebrate the new year of January 1. October 1 is the beginning of our new water year. It's when we water nerds start to recalculate our storage supplies, calculations. Are we forecasting water supply correctly? Bam, we're starting right now, October 1 for the 2025 year. So that kind of begs the question of, well, how did we do last year? Where are we at? Geez, it seems like we were just in a drought, a pretty serious drought, and then we got rescued by these amazing atmospheric river events, roughly 16 of those over the last 2 years to be exact, that helped pull us out of the drought. So where are we at now? Right now, there are charts, graphs on your tables. Our engineers put those together for you. We're sitting very well in terms of our current reservoir conditions. Lake Sonoma is hovering at about 90%, with Lake Mendocino at about 53%. It's on your chart. Now, that is pretty good, and you'll see in relation to past years where we relate to. How are we doing? None of that, where we're at today, our water supply conditions could be done without a new water system called Forecast-Informed Reservoir Operations. And when you step back and you ask, Sonoma Water, what have you guys done since the last drought? What have you done since the Great Drought of 1976? Forecast-Informed Reservoir Operations is one of those water management tools that everyone in this room should be proud of. Everyone who's a member of the Alliance who helped create and build Warm Springs Dam, which by the way, in 1975 almost didn't happen because of a referendum, but the Alliance stepped up and helped educate the community and we got the dam built. By the way, Warm Springs Dam, that's the newest reservoir in California, by the way, 1983. We were the last, we're new. We're considered a new reservoir to the Department of Water Resources. So go figure that. So, what we did is thanks to the Alliance support, thanks to the encouragement of our water contractors, including the City of Santa Rosa, and Jennifer Burke, the director of their water department, is sitting in the back. She's monitoring and taking notes of everything I say. We actually worked with the Army Corps of Engineers to better forecast weather, to better forecast and understand atmospheric rivers. Use that weather forecasting data to upgrade how the Army Corps of Engineers manages our reservoirs for flood control. Bottom line, why release water into the ocean if you don't need to? Keep it, store it for future use. Especially if you have the weather forecasting data that shows you don't need to, because there ain't no storm coming for another 3 months because you're about to enter a drought, which is what happened in 2013. So we have improved. We've taken science, we've taken data, we've taken engineering, we've taken environmental resources, everything in the water world. Over the last 10 years, it's taken us, literally 10 years, to implement forecast-informed reservoir operations at Lake Mendocino. And now we're utilizing it at Lake Sonoma. What did that result in? This year, just this last year alone,
we were able to save upwards of almost 30,000 acre-feet of water combined total behind Lake Sonoma and Mendocino. What does that mean in the big picture? Just this last year, we delivered to 600,000 residents in North Bay and Sonoma Marin counties almost 40,000 acre-feet of water. So we just saved almost a year's worth of water without having to pour one single bucket of concrete, of asphalt, of any construction of a facility, just by updating our manuals and having better data and weather forecasting. FIRO. I will continue to repeat this message, my friends, because FIRO is a major innovative water supply tool that we will continue to implement. And when we look at and talk about 75 years, where do you want us to be in 75 years? It's FIRO that we will continue to implement and improve, because at the end of the day, our main mission and our main goal, and I just realized I interrupted you, but you never want to interrupt your boss. So let me just finish this statement in a quick session. Our main goal at Sonoma Water is to provide water supply to our wholesale water contractors, okay? Flood protection to communities, and sanitation. In 1995, we got the lovely task of handling everyone's poop. In unincorporated counties, Santa Rosa does the bulk of that work. We will continue to strive through those innovative water management tools to meet those main goals. That is our intent for the next 75 years, okay? But we've got challenges, and I will let you continue your sentence, sir.
You're hitting it. So just a little bit of context, the FIRO thing is, as Brad says, and provide a little nuance to this, is that in 2013, because of a curve that is managed by a risk management agency, the Army Corps of Engineers, that says on this date, if your reservoir is at this level, anything above it, you just have to dump. Even if the forecast said it's not going to rain for, the foreseeable future. So in 2013, we dropped 25,000 acre-feet of water, and it didn't rain for 3 years. And so everybody then goes, look at this horrible thing. This is an example of government gone awry. And so it is. But yet at the same time, the Army Corps of Engineers is a risk management agency. It is not a water supply agency. So it took to create this FIRO, this forecast informed reservoir operations. It cost upwards of $30 to $40 million with the Advanced Quantitative Precipitation Index, AQPI or AQPI. Everybody likes to make acronyms. All these X-band radars that track systems at a lower level, a lower altitude than previous ones. So that basically what our partnership with, especially with the Scripps Institute of Oceanography and others that Brad has been a key of leading, can justify to that risk management agency that they can have confidence to hold back more water.
And this is we are the first in the world to implement this new FIRO tool. Literally. Right here in Sonoma County at Lake Mendocino, bless her soul, Senator Feinstein, 10 years ago when we went to DC to pitch funding for this project, no one knew what an atmospheric river was. It wasn't defined as it is now. And certainly it wasn't being used by meteorologists on the TV talking about atmospheric rivers, right? So I just want to point that out, that it's the first in the world. We've been invited to worldwide conferences to pitch this. Other nations are now copying what we have done in this region, and it couldn't have happened without the leadership of our board, who gave us the authority to do that, and the support of our water contractors who represent the ratepayers in this county.
So let's keep going. This is great. So first of all, that's one innovation that's there. Now, Brad, let's also juxtapose this a little bit. Is that if we're holding back 30,000 more acre feet into a system, that creates a huge amount of resilience for us for drought and for other things. But before we filled up, Lake Sonoma was at the lowest level in its recorded history since it filled up in 1983, right? And so we were at a point where if you really look, and Dick and Jennifer and other people who've been involved in the contracting side, what they know is that we actually have a a manual that is approved that says things like, if you get down to this level, you have to implement a mandatory 30% conservation or a 50% conservation. So there is, just for folks to know, there is also embedded within this metrics that you have to hit. One of the things that is a fascinating discussion of this is, as an agency, conserving more and selling less water does not equal lower rates.
I thought we weren't going to talk about this.
Because at the same time, we are sitting here with our water providers, whether it's Santa Rosa and others, who aren't just retailers buying from us, they are a part of our water management, Water Advisory Council, Technical Advisory Council. This whole discussion about how much water rates, it's all negotiated between the cities and the county, but like what we have to do from the county side is we have to show what are the capital needs to keep up, whether it's the storage tanks, whether it's the pipelines, whether it's doing a retrofit of the pipelines that exist so that they are earthquake resilient, which has happened with FEMA dollars, so that if there's an earthquake, you don't just lose the entire system. It has shutdown valves, There's all these things that have to be hit within a system to make it truly resilient. But at this point, we have a water right here in Sonoma County to sell 75,000 acre feet a year. And at one point, there was an effort to go to the state to increase that to 100,000 acre feet sold a year. Okay, so that's a different reality of saying we can sell all this, and ultimately that would give us the money to invest in the infrastructure and the upgrade needs. But if we're only selling 38,000 feet and we're doing what's right, unfortunately the fixed costs don't go down in the system, and we deal with people who are, understandably frustrated that you have to keep going here, because we are not selling at a place where it's a government profit, where we are flush, right?
Yeah, so our water transmission budget, and I think there's some information in the handouts on your table. It's about $75 million or so for water transmission operations and maintenance. That is a fully volumetric budget, right? So it literally is the amount of water we sell to the cities, the amount of water we sell to the city of Santa Rosa, for example. The less water we sell, we have to recoup costs for operations and maintenance. And our system is old, folks. I mean, it literally has years of deferred maintenance because we were trying to keep rates as low as possible, especially during COVID. But now we're at the point where we have our staff going to our water contractors, to our board, saying we need to true up. If you want to talk about water for future generations, that next 75 years, we can't do it with these leaky pipes, these dilapidated tanks, these pumps that aren't working. Unfortunately, we need funding to support that. And as the Alliance, I'm sure that's what you would want, is you would want us to make sure we're taking care of our nuts and bolts of the system. And
control doesn't equal local action. That's why now the state is writing ways to take authority away from locals to have by right housing, because you need to do it. Well, I mean, for me as a county supervisor, every homeless solution and every single affordable housing project that's come before my board and we have voted to approve, I think every single one has come with people who say, I support this but not here, right? So that being said, let's go back to that first point about water. People say, how can you do this? We don't have enough water. We've had droughts, we've had curtailments. So what do we have to respond to that?
We have water.
And we have something called an urban water.
We have an urban water management plan that we pretty much review every 5 years, state requirement. We work with our contractors, the cities, to ensure that we have enough supply for the cities. Okay, the cities have their housing goals and their water contingency plans. Bottom line, our engineering report, we've got water for our customers and their needs based on various drought scenarios through 2045. We reassess this every 5 years, and I guarantee you that number 2045 will continue to bump out because, again, we've got 75,000 acre feet of water we can sell. We're selling on average 40,000-ish, okay? We're well below that number. Now, the critical point here, though, is when you do have these extreme droughts, we do need to remain innovative to ensure we can get through those critical time periods.
Yeah.
And what we don't want to do is continuously have the state come in and tell us how to do our job. We don't want the state to come in and tell us how to manage our system. So that's where we have to challenge ourselves to be innovative, to work together, to look into winter water use. When do those atmospheric rivers drop all that water? And if we're going to get more ARs, more extreme conditions, less rain throughout the year, then we need to do a better job capturing that water and storing it so we use it when we need it. And that keeps the state out of our backyard, keeps the feds out of our backyard, and we can manage our own system. Because remember, you all helped build a beautiful water system that is literally in our backyard. We are not connected to the state or federal projects. Let's keep it that way. Let's keep our system as environmentally friendly, healthy. We only add the state-required chlorine and a little pH to address because our water is so darn pure and clean. We do not treat your drinking water. It is naturally filtered. People who are not from this area, when they move here, they call us up and they ask, can I drink the tap water? Is the tap water safe? Because I'm from Los Angeles and we don't drink our tap. Well, you are not in LA, folks. We have a system that is unique and we have to protect that while encouraging economic growth and the housing needs of our contractors. And I'll go right back and say it. Our primary goal, our mission, is to provide clean, affordable water to our customers, the cities that need it for their economy, for their community, and for their housing needs.
Earlier, I mentioned that thing about strongly held, lightly informed opinions, and it's not really about folks who don't know squat. It's about people who don't want to inform themselves or challenge their way of thinking or challenge their, like for me in my job, if I don't challenge my ignorance, then I'm not a good public servant, right? If I'm focused on my ego and not saying that. And so when you look at this system, is from my perspective, I mean, Brad and I are up here and you hear like a lot of confidence and excitement about what we're doing, but a part of that is because we do have plans for things, and it's not perfect, and they are required to be updated all the time. But at the same time, there is a plan for growth in our community. And when we currently have now 500,000 people and the projection of 745 people by 2045, right? With our arena numbers and our other things. Okay, so these are planned out. Now, when you hear stories predominantly of people whose wells are running dry, which are all over the front page, right? That's predominantly in areas that are groundwater dependent, that individuals have individual wells. Okay? Now, for sure, those are also could be in areas where there's many straws going down into an area, and maybe it's not based upon full groundwater, like in an area, in a farming area, Alexander Valley or out the Sonoma Valley, but you might be in a place like Marquess Creek, where you have a bunch of straws and they pull off of the actual creek and lower the amount of water that comes down, and you don't have habitat. And so you have these issues. So we have water surplus areas and we have water scarce areas. And within the groundwater basins of Sonoma, Petaluma, and Santa Rosa, you have groundwater sustainability agencies that were created by the Sonoma, the State Groundwater Management Act, SGMA it's called, right? And Pamela mentioned this. And they are basically governments of governments. They have an appointee from the supervisors, from the cities, and special districts, and they figure out their plan in each of those areas. Now, one of the areas that's always going to be a focus for not just us, but the state is this side of the creeks that are really protected. They are what you would call the nurseries for the endangered species. You know, they're the reds, REPD, the nests for the salmon are in the main stretch, and then they're going to come out. I mean, and the tributaries in other areas, but they're going to come out and feed. But then they're also going to overwinter. They're going to grow in this system before they go out and migrate. The two salmon types, Chinook and coho. Let's just say coho is the much more time-dependent fish. So we got to manage our systems, try to be perfectly for these fish to go out and then come back after 2 years or 3 years, open the estuary out. So once again, back to this management. A steelhead, which is really a trout that goes out to the ocean and can come back or can live in the system its whole life or can come back multiple times, can spawn and do respawn, doesn't die. That's kind of a more of an off-road vehicle of a fish, right? It's hardier. It can last through it. It's not so dependent upon just one cycle and missing it and an entire season of population going down. So we have huge issues because you do not get to manage water without managing public health. Like for instance, if we lower the water levels, does that spike blue-green algae for individuals? Or does that kill recreation? Do people not get to be on the river anymore? Okay, on the other side, if we raise the levels too much, how much flooding does that cause? How much of those septic systems in Fitch Mountain and down on the lower river, which are really not just naturally filtering into the water, the profile, there's a lot of old systems that don't have a lot of soil that are going and draining directly into the rivers, right? So then we manage this body of work underneath federal, state regulation for Water Quality Act, Clean Air Act, Clean Endangered Species Act, Public Health and Safety, permitting laws, and so this is the mess that you just have to manage in the middle of it all. So a couple things of challenges or opportunities as we go forward. Maybe we'll go back and forth a little bit, but I will, for my part, say that that while we talk about the entire system, let's acknowledge that Marin County is a customer of ours, and I just want to for a second get rid of the worry that that's a bad thing. They actually take water when it's a surplus to us in the water-rich season, and they have storage that they pump it into. And they pay a higher price than we do here locally. So when we renegotiate the agreement, Marin County being involved with us is an important part of our system. During a drought, everyone doesn't say that, right?
The last thing we want Marin to do is put a pipeline over the Richmond Bridge, and all of a sudden, remember what I just said, we do not want to be part of the state or federal systems, nor do we want any of the state or federal water in our region. I think we want to keep that water from our system. So the big concern there is keep Marin as a key partner, because they do pay into the system, which helps lower your rates and also helps with environmental enhancement projects, which is important for the steelhead and coho and chinook. But we do not want to see a pipeline over the bridge.
If we see that, the worry for us is that all of a sudden then those pipes connect to our pipes and we lose control, potentially long term, of our own system. Let's just be very real, right? So the other thing is that the most fragile area in Sonoma County, water-wise, outside of those mountains and other tributaries, is really North County. It's Hillsburg, where Ron serves, all the way up to not just the border of Mendocino County and Cloverdale, but then some, because that is not connected to Lake Sonoma. That's completely off of Lake Mendocino. That's where this whole Potter Valley project really comes in, this discussion. If there's never been governance out there. If you really look, there's another story of this water system, which was when the Army Corps came in and created Lake Mendocino. They also channelized the mid-reach of the Russian River. They made it straight, so it didn't have that meandering effect that it had for millennia. Then once they did that, it started to cut through it in size and push it deeper. Then we had in-stream gravel mining, which was a big industry here, and still is an important industry to look at, where aggregate has now since moved into the hills and the Mark West Quarry and Canyon Rock and others, but there's also needed skimming in the Russian River, but it's so hard with, basically, let you know, one of the things that we are working on right now is $1 million from the board that is going into channel management and vegetation and sediment management in the mid-reach of the Russian River, which is predominantly in my district, not the lower river, right? And that's because we have, we have flooding, we have, areas of aggradation that everything's blowing out. So there's also plans outside of water supply that we're going through, but sometimes you got to put $1 million, $2 million, $3 million into environmental documents to even give a project worth a chance. And that's why private companies can't do that anymore. It's publicly subsidized stuff, tax dollars and other things. Whether people like that or not, that is the reality, not just with the Endangered Species Act and the Clean Air Act and the Environmental Quality Act, but with CEQA, which obviously, as many of us know, whether you love it or hate it, it gives people a right to basically protest every step, every way, every dot, every T. But if I go through the system, one of the things that I really like to see is that, for instance, Ron knows this, is in Hillsburg, is they got a grant from the Department of Water Resources last year, and they're already doing construction right now as we speak, as you're knocking on doors, for a recycled water project, right? To decrease their dependency on the Russian River itself and their water rights there, and also they can connect to our water rights on Lake Sonoma on the other side. In Cloverdale, there's system upgrades that are going through. For our part, we have a big multi-million-dollar project called Floodmar, which basically means divert water off of the Russian River in flood times and let it sink into ag lands and open areas to allow it to sink. And once again, that's moving, but then the problem is that for that to be a true market that works, you have to get into things like the state water rights and what they allow for beneficial use. Once again, as I said, if Brad turns on, maybe not, don't think about this as like a diversion of like you cut a notch in a levee and you have this water just go out like flood irrigation and you spread it. But maybe instead what the plan is in like an area like Alexander Valley is you coordinate with landowners and they turn on all of their irrigation systems in the middle of the storm. All of their pumps. So everything, so it creates an area for all, I mean think about this, an infrastructure that was built to take now basically occupying space and putting water back onto the ground, but once again, getting a state water board to attribute rights to those individuals because they have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to pump, to do other things. So if they're going to spend the money to be a public good, then they have to be treated as a public good.
You know my big concern. You go, and then whatever your finals are, and then I think Q&A, or we're done. Okay, real quick though, my biggest concern, and I guess my big ask for everyone in this room today, I don't think our community really knows who we are, Sonoma Water. And I'm looking at, I've got Pamela and Cynthia here from my communications department, and you know, thank you for working at Sonoma Water. Thank you for accepting the challenge of being our communicators and our community outreach, because I think it's complicated and their jobs, and I point them out to you because I think if we all can agree on one thing today, please help us communicate to the community who we are, what we do, and why we're important. Because at the end of the day, we all do pay for this system, and we are all responsible for our water delivery system. And we need to upgrade it, it needs to be maintained, and that does mean rates, money out of everyone's wallet. So please help us in communicating and educating, communicate with our community on our Sonoma water system.
You want to do some Q&A? Does that work, Ty? Okay. Yeah.
So how does water relate to electric generation of electricity? And are we interested in pump storage?
Ding, ding, ding. Okay, I'll let Brad, but let's keep these quick for Q&A. So two things. One is I mentioned a geothermal project. The one thing unique about this geothermal project, which could close to double the output of the geysers, is it's not based upon steam. So I used to go around and tell everybody, you know, we have the biggest geothermal facility in the world, which is a great thing. But they'd say, how do I do that? And you'd say, you can't. Because you don't have basically the topography, the plate tectonics, all these other things, and then you also don't have the water deal that was agreed upon that sustains that. So this is just, I want to say, this is low water use. This is closed loop systems with water recycling through cool water turned to hot water, turning turbines, and it's happening in, if you're ever interested in, there's a place called the Forge, F-O-R-G-E, which is a Department of Energy site in southwest Utah, and another one's, and we're expanding on like a $6 to $8 billion build out of a projected 600 megawatts. So it's a big damn deal in here in Sonoma County. So I just wanted to reference that that's not a water need project. We're doing exploratory wells and others. For pumped hydro, I'll pass it over, and it's cool.
It's happening, yes. Bottom line is yes, pump storage hydro, basically taking water from a reservoir, pumping it up the hill to a storage tank, releasing it when you need to produce energy. It's a great use of your existing reservoirs, and yes, we have a feasibility study that we're looking at Lake Sonoma in collaboration with the Army Corps on developing a smaller reservoir on top of the Barrow section where they use the soil to build the dam, and doing a storage system there. And just on that note, Sonoma Water is and continues to be the first water agency to be carbon-free in terms of using renewable energy to both deliver through our whole system your drinking water.
I will add one little bit to this to just provide some context with this hydro stored, pumped hydro. I walked up to Rusty Clausen, one of our favorite innovators and mad scientists here in town, and he's like, we're having coffee, and he's like, I need to talk to you about pumping hydro, and I was like sitting with a buddy next to me, he's like, what the heck is this all about? Well, what it is, as Brad says, it's pumping from one level to another, but it's pumping when it's cheap. At nighttime, it's playing the market, right? So you're basically, when the rates are low for energy, you turn on the pump and you pump it up to a higher storage area, and then when the grid wants to buy energy and you put it back down and it's hydro. So that's just what it is. It's basically just moving water around to own a market. And if you can really think about we talk about the next 75 years, one of the biggest things that is not talked about, but is really the infrastructure of the state, is the transmission grid, right? Yes, microgrids are the future, but let's also remind ourselves that macro grids and the fact that we are on a fixed grid system that is managed like up to a capacity level, but there's not energy that is produced that's sitting out there in the world readily available, kind of puts us in a position where we're in a real pinch energy-wise in California, where we're at so California has these goals of being 100% renewable by 2045, right? Okay, well, we went from being like 9% renewable energy, 47% with the offshore wind, the geothermal, but what we really need is the middle section during the J, which is geothermal or offshore wind and other things like that. But the problem is that we need that to be produced here so that we, and ultimately, I'm not smart enough on this issue yet, but I'm being told by a lot of our folks at Sonoma Clean Power and others is that the transmission grid is the big investment into the future of our country and energy. Brian?
The diversion, is the diversion going to continue on your long-term plans? Are you planning on the diversion we still get that as a source, or are we trying to plan around that not being available at some point?
Yes, and you have, okay, so the diversion is the Potter Valley project. So the goal has always been for Mendocino and Sonoma County to continue to have enough water to be able to not only survive and meet our needs, but also to allow us the time to innovate and conserve and do the recycle and do all these other systems. So, so the goal and the so-called kind of loose agreement is to keep that diversion going, but Lake Pillsbury goes down, even though this is one that people, the kind of lady, I was at the Hillsburg Parade, Future Farmers Parade, and I was like in a float with like, hanging out with my family, and this lady rides up on a horse, and she's like, "You're an asshole! You gotta keep the dam!" And I was like, and then her horse crapped all over right in front of me. I was just like, man, get back over here. You want to get into this, right? It's like, once again, let's go, right? PG&E has it. They know the thing's going to fall down, the dam. I mean, everybody has strong opinions. We went in and checked it out. We agree. We don't have $100 or $200 million to put into that system. But when we also know that the regulators are pinching us on that, and we also know that the right thing to do is not to hurt another system by sustaining your own. So the whole idea of the diversion is that it is to sustain it as long as possible and keep it moving. It is still very complicated. The negotiation has created this kind of group of partners who kind of evolve around, and sometimes they're arms locked up, and sometimes locked in it together. we have to get an agreement between us, Round Valley, and Round Valley Tribe and Lake Mendocino to even have a shot to be able to continue it as a water project, not as an energy project that pumps, that pushes out water. So I am still optimistic, right? Because it also benefits those areas to have water come and for them to sell it to us when it's in flood stages. The whole idea is to keep the water moving into Lake Sonoma and a run-of-the-river scenario when it's not like low flows over there and we're like, well, we're going to kill your fish to keep water for our fish. So we're trying to be very practical and pragmatic about it, but the politics also weigh very heavily in favor of federally recognized tribes in consultation with a part of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. So what's the plan? The plan is to continue the diversion, and that's still the plan to move forward. At the same time, is there have to be backup plans. That's why we're doing the Flood-Mar projects out in Alexander Valley. That's why the recycled projects are going on. There's been folks, if Bob Anderson and John Nagel were in the room with us right now, they would say for 20 years they've been talking about us putting a pipeline from Cloverdale up to Lake Sonoma and having this whole system be on a sustainable area where you pump water down when it's needed, but then you also pump water up. You know, like that's not, that kind of stuff is not what we're looking towards. We're looking to maintain the system that we have, but just to know that contingency planning is all over the place. I think is the best way to say it.
All right, can we have a great thank you for Supervisor?
And next, mental health for 2 hours. No, I'm just, it's fascinating. I really appreciate you all because water is one thing, but like then at like 10 a.m. it could be, okay, let's go talk about conservatorship reform with homeless populations and the different state laws that we now can conserve substance abuse individuals. And what does that mean? How do we create this? And then it can be like the next day, it could be, you know, our roads and bridges and other things. So I just appreciate your call to action on the committee work, because as much as we come out here with a full forum, make sure you do your committee work and make sure folks like me and Ron and Gerard and others here know what you're doing.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you again. Very informative. It's funny. It's, you know, what Supervisor Gore said, you know, you need to be informed to make good decisions. And that's why we're here once a month. So hopefully what we do here gives you a little more knowledge, a little more understanding that you can spread out into the community and put a little more fact behind the conversation. I would like to thank all the members of council. We have Sam Salmon from Windsor, Mark Stratt from Santa Rosa, Ron Edwards from Healdsburg, Gerard Giudice from Rohnert Park, obviously Supervisor Gore, and again, thank you, Brad Sherwood. Next month, we talk about other good topics. We have Fox Channel 2 senior political analyst Brian Sobel. You might have seen him last night on TV after the debate for the VPs. It will be, as you could imagine, a driven, fun conversation based upon what's going on in the world today. We hope that you show up. We are a membership organization. We thrive by you coming here. We thrive by you joining us as members. So if you're a guest, if you've been here for a few times, reach out to Ty. Please become a member and let us continue through our 50th year in 2025. Have a wonderful day.